Less weekly chores. Open world gearing is changing in WoW's next expansion.
We have a realm to destroy.
Sunshade's ready for some WoW expansion. That's right. Thank you, Sunshade, for the follow, and welcome to our Scourge. Let's see what Bellular has to say about our weekly chores and open world gearing.
Our next thing, it is a big update to open world gearing and caches. So a bit like, right, here's the way it works.
That's right.
So, you know the way in Dragonflight, you kind of get like a big weekly quest, and it might have said, do a super bloom. Do a super bloom and plant 5 seeds and do this and do that. So basically, here's the way that it is going to work. There are a total of 4 events in the world. There are then special world quests, and then there's also the sort of weekly wraparound quest. Now, these all give you caches. Boxes of loot, right?
Right.
And basically, the way it works is the first 4 of them will give you key fragments.
Yeah.
Those are the keys used to open the chests and delves.
Yeah.
And then the first 2 will give you bits of gear. That's it. I mean, I'm sure the others give you something, gold, resources, whatever.
Yeah, they probably give you gold and stuff. Those, by the way, those key fragments are important, especially for there is the Bountiful Delve, which is going to be like a daily occurrence where one of the delves gives more loot than the others, and if you complete the delve quick enough without dying, it's not timed, it's actually without dying, that you can get more loot at the end of the delve. So you're going to need a bunch of keys to open up that extra loot that you get. So that's why getting these keys is going to be important. So doing at least 4 is going to be a thing.
They wanted to break this up so that, say you did not want to do the world quest, but you wanted to quickly smash out the events, you could do that. And you could choose to, maybe if you only wanted the gear, on that character, you just do the 2 that'll give you the, adventurer gear pre-season, veteran gear when it is in the season.
When the season starts.
So that's basically how they've done it. Now those keys, those are used in Bountiful Delves for the coffer. Basically, a Bountiful Delve is like a delve, but bountiful. It'll have chests that have got...
If I had to describe it, it's kind of like an awakened raid, where it's giving you more loot, I guess. Awakened raid might not be the best example because awakens give you better loot too. But it's going to give you more loot. You're going to use the key fragments to open it. And don't forget, when you complete a delve, it's going to go towards your vault as well, right? That final row, there's like a world quest row now to it. So you'll be able to get your delve done, get the gear at the end of that, and then get gear when you open up your vault at the end of the week too.
Better drops, and this is one of the keys.
More ways to level up your eye level.
That special chest from the Bountiful Delve. You'll know a delve is bountiful because you'll see it on the map. Whenever you go and you do a Bountiful Delve, it will then go away from
Torghast 2.0-ish, kind of, but it's not required. You never have to do a delve if you don't want to. You can just go raid and do Mythic Plus and stuff. That's the nice thing about it. Torghast's problem was the Choreghast problem of it. That was required. We had to do it over and over. Intentionally designed to make us run that thing 1,000 times, and that was horrible. Bad design on Blizzard's part. They're not doing that now.
Map because you've done it, and they will spawn in on a cadence.
Yeah, the icon will light up, and the icon will tell you how long is left, and we'll be able to see it. It's all very actually good.
Yep, and Blizzard...
Another difference, by the way, between Torghast and delves is that delves have different aesthetics, right? There's different delves in every zone, and each one looks different. There's a different story, a different way to do it. The complete look of it is completely different. Whereas Torghast just had that same... sex dungeon, spiky dildo, the worst shit you've ever seen over and over and over again. It was the same thing every time. Oh my God, horrendous. So one of the worst, it's got to be one of the worst pieces of gameplay I've ever had to deal with. Yeah, it was bad.
Blizzard have said that this is not gated behind a specific activity. They want you to pick what you want to do. They say philosophically it's a shift from Dragonflight, where the game asked you to do specific things. Earn 1,500 reputation, plant 5 seeds, do a super bloom, blah, blah, to get your veteran gear. And they basically say, in a way, it was good because there's loads of players, it kept that content popular. That meant people could do it. Mm-hmm. But they think that War Within can do better by not having the specific requirements for the activities. Instead, the activities just reward a cache.
I agree.
And the way that the game dispenses loot to you is based on the contents of your first 2 and first 4 caches, which just lets you do things whatever order you want.
Yeah, whatever order you want, do it if you want, don't do it if you don't want. Monarch, the delves are fun the first time, but I don't see them, myself, repeating them ever. That's fine. Guess what? You don't have to. That's the good thing about them. That's the best thing about them, is it's just not required. It's something you could work in, and I think what delves are going to be really is they are great filler content, because right now WoW doesn't have that 15-minute thing to do. unless you're going to go do a mount run or something. It's going to fill in that, hey, I got 15 minutes. What can I do in WoW right now? I'm going to log in real quick. What can I do? A delve. Do a delve. Why not? There's currently no content in the game that fills that little, that little time window. And I think that's what they're going to be good for.
So you got 400 key fragments and 2 bits of veteran gear. And that's basically how that works, because they don't want you to feel like you need to do the one event that you hate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Aren't they worried about the game theory of choice paralysis? Interesting.
So.
I
Choice
think
paralysis.
that there's a world where they
Wait,
probably...
is that a real thing? People going to have Are you serious? So people complain that we don't have enough things, choices to make, and then there's going to be choice paralysis, not sure what to... Oh, my God. Society's doomed. What?
We had that conversation. I went, do we really...
Just do what you like. Do whatever you find enjoyable. It's a game, after all. Just freaking have fun playing the game.
Are we gonna have the
thing,
kind of
huh? Oh
issue
my God.
of, okay, well, people are gonna go to YouTube video,
Jesus.
which events I do, which one gives me the most, which one has the better chance, which one's the quickest to do, and there's a little bit of that for sure. But I also think you don't really. I think that's a very defensive way to look at it for like the worst possible case. Whereas in
called
this
being
case, if you look at it and go, they're going. We would like people to do what they want to do to have the fun. Or like, yeah.
The overwhelming thing to me was when you used to like join mid Shadowlands or something. Imagine a new player and they were like, okay, this is what you got to do. You got to go through these dungeons to get some gear. Then you could do heroic. Then you could do mythic. You got to keep gearing out. That way you can do the Torghast. That way you can unlock the next level of Torghast. That way you can unlock your legendary weapon. Oh, you got it to a certain point. Now you got to recraft it with the right shit. You got to get the right stuff from the auction house, maybe if you can't get it yourself. Then once you have your legendary, you got to go back and do the raid now because you got the legendary. Now you can go harder in the raid, level up through there. Don't forget to get your domination shards, right? You got to go in and get those things so you can socket the gear that you got properly. Oh, sorry. Actually, we're updating your legendary again. Now time to go back to Torghast, regrind that shit. Oh, actually, you can take your old legendary and break that shit and re-get the currency so you can make your new one. But you don't have enough of that Ashes bullshit, so you got to go run a couple more things to get that. That shit was overwhelming. Okay? There was no choice. There was a specific progression system that you had to go through over and over and over again. That shit felt overwhelming. That's why no new players could join in Shadowlands. My God. Now at least you got choices. Hey man, you like dungeons? Go do that. You like raiding? Go do that. You don't like either of those, too much pressure? Go do a delve. It's fine. There you go.
I assume that was the overriding principle. And I'll
Sam
be very
basically
happy
saying
to
he doesn't like
because,
progression.
as an
I like
example,
progression choices.
Special assignment world quests. How do I put this? I've been doing world quests for too many expansions and I don't want to do them anymore. So if you tell me I can do the Awakening of the Machine, which is a wave defense thing, I'm like, yeah, I'll do that instead. Because I like it, because it's fun, it's gameplay. Earth in Theater, I'll probably do that until I've seen all of the events, because there's cool little plays they put on. And I'm like, oh, is that an Earthen who went over who made it to the shores of Kalimdor, got the shit kicked out of her by a load of Kalimdor natives.
They're all
and
like
went,
little
"Fuck this,
world
I'm going home."
events you could do.
That's fun. I'll see those, and then maybe I'll move on to something different after that, or whatever. Depends whatever you feel like doing at that point in time. Which I think is actually like it. You can see the. Hang on a second. Why are we telling people what to do instead of just giving them a choice? You can see that like philosophy.
Yeah, that change of mindset.
Pervasive throughout the entire thing, because it's even people talking about delves being mandatory there in chat. It's like
Mandatory.
nothing's mandatory. You can alt F4, bro. You can alt F4. But it's like if you want to gear, you have 3 choices. You can't just get gear for doing nothing. You can't do that. That goes against the laws of a video game. So they go. You can do your do your raid or your M plus or your delve. Do one of the 3.
Just do.
Get your
Just do
vault. Get item.
Or if you want quicker.
Yeah.
Do 2
Or if you're a degenerate with no life, do all of them. Shit, do all of them. Unlock every vault slot. At the end of the day, it's progression. You're not doing anything for no reason. That's a good thing.
3 of those things. If you're a big Giga gamer.
Yeah, if you want
Yeah,
more
do 'em
choice,
all.
not quicker.
Yeah,
if you want more
exactly.
choice.
Yeah.
And if you want all the gear, just spam M plus at the highest level, like you will every time anyway if you are that person.
The thing is, like, I think the definition of mandatory has been a little overblown.
Oh, it's been abused, like.
Yeah, that's not mandatory at all.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
And delves are only going up as far as heroic gear for the hardest content. So.
I don't know what the.
I think
don't know how many
people
delves
mandatory
to do, right?
mandatory is only so the language of mandatory. We should probably talk about where it came from because that comes from competitive mythic players.
From
feeling-
mandatory.
There you go.
Tories are out again.
It's
Yes.
the Tories.
Yes. Sorry.
It's because, say, in Korthia, the way that things worked
God.
meant that they had to do an inordinate amount to stay competitive
Yeah.
for the hardest
Oh my God.
content in the game. But
Was
when you're
ridiculous.
dealing, I think the second you're dealing with heroic raids, which are very approachable, that's just no longer a concern. Right?
Yeah.
Like the talk of things being mandatory, that was speaking to a specific set of higher end players. It wasn't really speaking
true.
to the broad player base because it's never been mandatory that you have to, because like by that logic it's also mandatory to raid and Mythic Plus.
Well, here's the thing, though. If you enjoy raiding, there are some things that do become mandatory if Blizzard makes it that way, like the domination shards, like your legendary or your whatever. Yeah, the legendary you had to make in Shadowlands. Like, even though high-end players, it's mandatory for them to do it quickly, eventually that does trickle down to the rest of the player base who just want to raid. But you start to get that requirement of like, well, come on, man, go get your best in slot trinket, or go get your shards, or go get your legendary crafted. What are you doing? Like, a lot of those things do eventually become mandatory. And if there's only one way to get them, well, it becomes a grind fest.
And if you don't Mythic Plus, then you're not doing the thing that's mandatory apparently, and you're screwed. Whereas
Big truth.
it's not that bad. It's really not that bad. Like,
It's not mandatory, it's self-imposed.
If-
It becomes mandatory, though, to play the content you want to play. So if you want to do heroic raiding, there are some things that become mandatory after a while. Not as quickly as, say, a cutting-edge raider, but it does become mandatory if you want to do certain content, or you're just never going to get invited. That's the thing.
delves were somehow giving you mythic gear. and
Self-imposed by the player base.
We're too
maybe.
easy for that. Then we'd have a problem. That now wouldn't be the problem of mandatory, because that's not what mandatory means. It would be the rewards are not balanced with the content. And previously WoW has had problems where Mythic Plus and Raid have not been balanced with each other. Mandatory only really happens when you're talking about a higher end competitive context. Basically,
Yeah, Ducati, that's a good way to put it. They're more community-imposed than self-imposed. Yeah, perfectly said. But community-imposed stuff does become, mandatory after a while. Or you just can't play. You just don't get to do the stuff you want to do. So you got to get some shit done. And the nice thing about War Within is it looks like you're going to be able to get that shit done in a variety of ways. That's the good thing.
there's no need, there's no reason to stress. It's really fine. You don't have to care.
Yeah.
Like, yes, you could have a small chance of having slightly more gear on your character if you played it more, which is always the case anyway,
Yeah.
because you could always do one or two more Mythic Plus runs.
Of course.
You could always try to pug the first two Mythic bosses. There's always something else you could do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's where like anyone kind of arguing from that perspective, it kind of falls apart a little bit. It's like, you consider stuff mandatory, but if you're not doing Mythic, then it's not mandatory. You can just do whatever you want and roughly get by.
Yeah.
And I think the more people kind of free themselves from, because it is genuinely, in a lot of cases, it is like, maybe not even social pressure. Maybe it's almost like a more parasocial pressure, considering it's not, people won't literally go, you did not do it, I'm not your friend anymore. But, it'll be like the community consensus is to do these things
Yeah,
because of a load of fucking streamers. See,
But, yeah, fucking streamers. Why? Why did he say that? Basically, it's a community imposed thing where the people want to get things done. People want to be successful in the game, so they will invite the most successful people in the game, and those are the people who've done certain things. And if you haven't done certain things, then you are considered not successful at the game, not good at the game, so you won't get invited to certain things. Yeah, so yeah, it's my fault exactly. So yeah, it's a community imposed thing, just like we talked about, which does make some things mandatory. But the real mandatory part of it is just getting gear. Get gear, and you can go to things. And this way, and in War Within, it looks like you can get gear multiple ways.
he goes, yeah. I can't wait to. Oh no, I'm moving closer to the river. It's over for me. But yeah, I think there is that like
No,
the
Sam
kind of
equals
need
problem
to get
solved.
the best gear that is from some weird conception that I'm quite completely full. I mean, obviously I get it. It's baked in from. It was baked in from when everyone did play all of the game, from Gear Score and Wrath, and DPS
Yeah.
meters from 4 seconds into the game's release. Obviously that's all there, but
Yeah, I think you can't take away gear progression. I mean, yeah, there's the people out there who just play the game literally to collect transmog and mounts now. They don't care about like end game content or anything. But I think gear progression is very much like a core tenet of an MMO. It's why you play. It's the dopamine hit. It's the, oh yeah, I got an upgrade here. Oh, felt good, to equip that, and now I'm hitting stronger and I'm better. I'm ascending, the ranks of badassness. So that can never really be taken away from the game. I think it would suck if there was no gear progression. That's the reason why I play. But the good thing is having different ways to progress in your gear. That's important.
it's like you let your guildmates down. Yeah, I think in most cases that's like there's an element of yeah, but if you're thinking that and not talking to your guild about your performance and gear, then that is
Yeah, I mean, if your guild are,
skill issue,
if
like-
your guild are a pack of dicks, then sure. But like, if you show up and still perform, well, even if you don't have the the best gear, then that's okay. Most guilds will understand that
Yeah.
life gets in the way.
Yeah.
If your guild is, say, raiding heroic and they're acting like that, that's completely
they have
not
to calm
reasonable.
down.
Heroic is in no way hard enough.
cakewalk, like
Yeah, it's a cakewalk. There's no reason to be that serious if you're a heroic guild. Now
I
that
agree.
can make sense if it's mythic and if it's competitive mythic, and that's something that everybody is signed up to do.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have that in heroic as well. You can have people who commit to being like reasonably quick or at least trying and
Yeah,
putting a little
yeah.
bit of effort in, and like having like a simulacrum of the top experience without having to put themselves through the grinder, obviously. But it is like that needs to be like a full on opt in thing.
Yeah, but yeah, and like not doing your delves is just not that bad.
Yeah. Yeah. If someone says you didn't do your delves, you can't be my friend, then good. You've won.
Yeah, you've won. Those are strange people.
Yeah.
Again, I
Yeah.
say this because you do not need that shit to clear heroic,
No.
like at all. Look at the Amirdrasil stats for heroic. Like, yeah, it was a really hard raid in mythic. On heroic, it was easier than Aberrus, and Aberrus was easy. Aberrus was super easy.
It was.
Until Zed's Karn.
Until
I would say
Zed-
the last time heroic rating was a bitch, it got really bad in Shadowlands. Shadowlands just has all the negatives. But like Sepulchre of the first one's probably one of the hardest heroic level difficulty raids that's ever been put in the game. I'd say actually it probably is the hardest. Progression on Anduin was a complete bitch, and it sucked. And we did it on a weekly basis. We got through it eventually, but there was a lot of hard bosses in there. Halandrus was a bitch until he got nerfed into the ground multiple times. Even what was it? What's it called? The Dreadlord bosses. They were tough to get straight with everybody, understand the how to use the add-on and stuff like that. Yeah, there was hard bosses in there, but in reality, especially raiding today, like in Dragonflight, there was no reason for anybody to need best in slot gear to clear heroic. That shit was fine, not too bad.
That's Skarn.
Zed's Karn.
Ah, we all love Zed's Skarn.
Zed's Karn. What a boy. What a bastard.
Because it's like, I know where that argument comes from. It comes
Yeah.
from back in the day when you were maybe doing 25 heroic, back when heroic was the hardest in the game. But that's just not the case anymore.
Yeah.
And the modern heroics, they are easy
Yeah, they're not bad.
enough. Like I mean, shit, compare Farak to Razageth even.
God, I
It's night and day.
miss Razzie.
Night-
Yeah, Farak is much easier than Razagath. That's true. Yeah, Smolderon had some progression. There were some progression moments in the current raids, but like nothing that required gear to get through them. It was just learning the mechanics. If people did the mechanics right, we would get through them. There was no like gear hold up to a lot of those guys. Whereas back in the Anduin fight and stuff, there were moments where if you didn't DPS him hard enough, you didn't have the right gear. It doesn't matter if you're doing the mechanics right. You are gonna wipe. Everyone's gonna wipe.
I miss Razzie. I miss her. Yeah, I think because there's a couple people in chat that are saying things like, even when your guild isn't said, it still feels like you're letting your guild down. You're not doing the best you can. It's a personal pressure for me, so self-inflicted. TBH. I think that's like, if you feel like that's self-inflicted, that's obviously like, I'm not going to turn it like a skill issue. Just don't think that way, because that's not fair. But I think it is something you can kind of go,
Well, where does the anxiety come from?
Yeah,
Why is that stressful?
Yeah, literally, like, ask your guild, be like, do you feel like I've let you down this week? And they'll be like, no, just chill. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I can almost guarantee it. Like,
because I guess there's been a thing where, and it's how some of the community discussion goes. You maybe see loads of players playing at a really high level and doing absolutely everything they can to optimize the shit out of their characters. And then you can end up feeling like you need to do that culturally because the people that you watch do that, and the people that your friends watch do that. But like, a lot of that stuff is only applicable in their sphere of play, not in, likely, I say likely not in yours, just like statistically, because most people aren't like top, let's just say top 1,000 mythic or something.
Right.
So it's like, you see, it's weird because it's a challenge for Blizzard. A lot of the reason why they will not have wanted to reward people for things, or be sort of stingy or more conservative in their designs, is because they're worried about that reflex in the player base. And like, I guess some of that can trickle down from the top end.
A lot of it comes down from the top end.
I think that's an accident. It's not like, it's not like you go onto Max's stream and he turns to the camera and says, if you don't do your +8 delves this week for your heroic raiding guild, you should be G-kicked. Like, he doesn't do that. None of them do that. Because, they're all completely self-aware that they're doing the thing that a low percentage of players do, that is opt-in. And, like, yeah, of course they'll have criticisms for Blizzard, because Blizzard is also designing the game for them. And sometimes they design parts of the game for them.
Sometimes they over-design the game for them.
Feeling mandatory and really bad. But again, that's like kind of for them. I'm thinking about Zareth Mortis. I remember the whole Zareth Mortis rap debate.
Zareth Lestis, yes.
The the rap debate, the Cortheus stuff.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
Ugh. God, remember that's the sort of things we had to talk about.
Corthia probably the worst patch ever in WoW history. I'll say that, flat out. I don't think that's a controversial statement. That was the worst patch ever. 9.1, worst patch ever in WoW history.
Still genuinely can't believe they released Corthia.
Sure did.
I can't believe they signed off on that and when that goes out. Like,
it had cool ideas. That's the funny thing about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't come together.
Yeah.
So bad you don't remember.
Yeah, it didn't come together.
The City of Secrets. Here's a brown island.
The rocky outcropping of secrets.
Yeah. Incredible times. Unbelievable. I loved it. I hated Corthia with all my passion.
Stout side, it wasn't the collecting mounts. That's fine, but that's not the real progression system of Corthia. Corthia had all that shit. Horrible, annoying shit. It also introduced the domination shards and everything else. Just really dumb progression systems that only lasted a patch. It was really bad. And it was depressing to be there.
That was painful every single time. The mall was clearly not done. Yeah, but the mall was like... how does this? The mall was toast. It was done. It was like, no, this ain't it. This is not it, Blizzard, please. Everyone knew that. But Corthia, like... the mall at least had effort in. It wasn't done. Corthia looks a little bit like just fucking minimum viable product.
Yeah.
The mall looked unfinished. Corthia looked like they just went, it's done. It's done. Whatever. It's fine.
It was during COVID, to be fair to them, I guess. But man, it was bad.
And obviously they probably worked really hard on it and stuff. It just didn't come together because of the unique challenges of the time. Let's be very democratic about it.
The unique challenges of time.
Everything was immensely on fire.
Yeah. I mean, so to summarize, really, what they're giving us in the War Within, and it's what the player base has been asking for, is a variety of ways to level up, to play the game, and to get good and get good gear. And that's what's really good about it. I think the opening up of the vault, slots to the world content stuff. I think delves are a great 15-minute filler. There's a lot of good stuff coming in the War Within that I think is going to generate some really nice casual and hardcore gameplay, which is great.